Tell them how like East 10 kind of started.
Back in like 2011, at that point, like Turner Field got that taken away. NSS had shut down, and then Charlotte just seemed a bit too far away. So I kind of put all my resources together and was able to rent Chilhowie Park for the first time. And come 2014, we got the boot. So then at that point, it's like, okay, how do we pivot? Where can we go next? Thankfully, we're able to move to Smoky Stadium. Parking lot, but we'll make it work. Like, we need somewhere to go.
Did the fact that it was just a parking lot really affect like how many drivers would come? How do you prep the drivers to even be somewhat competitive?
Some people think like I'm gonna get that license and I'm getting paid. Like, no. I want to make sure like the drivers that come out of our series are podium worthy or well prepared either way. If you got the money but you don't care to put the effort into the program, then you better hire somebody that can help you do that. If you don't have the money, then it's not gonna work out for you.
Welcome back to the Circle of Drift podcast. Thanks again for stopping in for yet another episode. And I know we're in a weird setting for the intro. We're in the shop, not the studio. It's an absolute mess in there with a bunch of merch. But today we are actually going to be out in Knoxville, Tennessee at AZ Rags to talk with Louie Garza, which you guys probably more know it as the East 10 Drift. And luckily we were able to shave out some of this time to even do this episode because the only reason I was out there was to take the event stuff to Conroe Sully so he could take it out to Long Beach and all the further FD events after that this year. So huge thanks to Louie for squeezing this in and taking up as much time as I could from him during a busy work day. And I really hope you guys enjoy it. If you do learn anything, let me know what you learned, or if we missed anything, feel free to critique that in the comments. But without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into the podcast. We are here at AZ Rags. If you don't know where that is or what the company is, owned by Louie Garza. Is that how you say your last name? Okay, cool. Don't want to mess that up. But
No, you're good.
yeah, if you want to kind of give a little introduction on where we are, what this is, what you do for a living, stuff like that.
Yeah, so Louie Garza here, one of the founding members and, president, I guess, of East 10 Drift, president and owner of AZ Rag. We're here at AZ Rag Installation and Print Services in Knoxville, Tennessee. We are actually a 3M certified installation company. I like saying that just because, whenever you achieve something, right, you got to announce it. But super proud of that. I've been in the business. This is actually in June, it'll be our 10-year anniversary as a business. I've been in the industry for about 20 years. And yeah, we're here in Knoxville, man. We do a lot of pretty rad stuff.
That's sick, dude. Yeah, I've known him, or I guess not known you personally, but known of you for a long time because obviously I got into drifting here in Tennessee. So
right.
I was a part of the whole East 10 thing. You had some ties to Turismo Drift and stuff back in the day as well. So
yeah.
That's how I kind of like got my first visual introduction to drifting, like in person. So that was really cool to kind of see.
Dude, it's nuts. Like you even saying that, I just like it takes me back all the way back to middle to 2015 or something like that.
Forever.
It's gotta have been right. Golly.
Why did that end, by the way? Just to kind of touch on that.
I think it's super challenging, running an event, and then especially like at that point in time, like Human, came to us and came to me and said, hey, I want to do this. Would you help facilitate it? And so we, technically became a partner in it as a facilitator, managing the track and whatnot. But, coming up with really good ideas and being able to stick to it and kind of read the trend of drivers and how do you make it more appealing to them? Of course, his idea was, want to have the biggest purse, at the time.
There's nobody else doing that.
Yeah.
That's
and then,
crazy.
And then of course you get clutch kickers and other, series like trying to, match a purse or get close to it. And, over time, costs, Human being very, business oriented, is it worth it? I think it just started to really drain the account and, take a lot out of him and his ability to drive and whatnot. And yeah, you get to a burnout for sure. And then, driver participation and the additional stress of, getting drivers to register. And, we all know drifters love to kind of drag their feet a little bit when it comes to registration.
It's a common problem across the board, it seems.
Yeah. So but it was fun. Met a lot of new people, saw a lot of, current friends, old friends, like participate and take part. And, it was a good experience. So no regrets there. I think, same with him, same with Human. Like, I think he learned a lot and really opened his eyes in the world of promoting, if you will.
Oh, yeah. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I miss just seeing drifting at the fairgrounds, that bank was like
Yeah.
nothing else. I mean,
Yeah, no, that bank was insane. I mean, I think, seeing Taylor Hall get all the way to the top and like, I think he 50-50'd it maybe. But coming into that infield, I mean, that was, that was a, grabbing your seat, like, holy geez, am I going to make it? And then you've got, this big old concrete wall. But, for the grade of the bank, for the size of that oval, I mean, it was insane. It was almost Bristol-like, if you, I don't know if you've ever been to Bristol Motor Speedway. But yeah, no, it was pretty gnarly. I do miss it. Like I kind of keep close, tabs to seeing if they're gonna demolish it or if they're gonna welcome some sort of racing back. Because it would be cool to go back. It'd be
I've been
nostalgic for sure.
curious because I would love to go back and like drive that eventually because I
Right.
never got to back in the day.
Yeah.
Wasn't actually didn't have a car or
Yeah.
anything for that. But yeah, I've always been curious about the fairgrounds if they'd ever open back up for any type of racing, really.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. There was a lot involved, and now it's even more political than it used to be. So
God, yeah.
who knows?
Say that again.
Who knows?
But besides that fact, I did want to touch on AZ Rags a little bit because a lot of the familiar cars people might have seen are, well, we got Osoli over here, the prospect car.
Right.
Then Hurst, which is not.
Yeah, he's not driving this year, unfortunately.
but,
Yeah.
Who were what are the other guys?
So our first was Kazuya Taguchi. So we, that was our first car into FD, and it was just like one of the things in the background is, these teams are asking who can do this, who could do that, and we had one guy who's in the military right now, Jackson Lorge, and he was like, hey, my guy Louie, and just that's how it connected. And Jackson, grew up, young kid in media, taking photos, like super proactive kid, and like I was like, dude, heck yeah. And like a few years later, I'm in Irwindale because Jerry flew me out there to touch up some things and work on some stuff out there, and like send him a picture like, thanks dude, I appreciate the connection. He's on a helicopter doing something. But yeah, no, it's just kind of how it all worked out. So Kazuya was our first for about maybe 3 or 4 seasons. And then it spilled into doing something for Connor. So we've been working with Connor for about 4 years now. We got to work with Hero, working with Hero. Got to work with Daigo Saito. And then this year, doing some stuff with Hero again. Wataru, we're doing some stuff for Wataru. And then of course Shanahan joining the GT Radio team. So we've done some stuff for them as well. So yeah, no, super cool. Jerry and his team, I mean, they're awesome. They're amazing. Jerry and Jenny, super cool. Really fun to work with. And then of course, Connor and his family, they're local to us, super awesome family, really good to work with. So we're super fortunate. It was fun to work with Jonathan, especially when, I got a kick out of like one year. He's like, I want to wrap my car like yours. I'm like, hell yeah. So that's when he saw like Patrick and Squidward in the back of his car, and yeah,
I remember that. Yeah.
And so yeah, that was pretty neat. And my son's like, look at that. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty neat. So doing stuff like that, and just working with these drivers, and as long as we've been doing this, just seeing some of these drivers like work their way up. I've knowing Jonathan for quite some time, and Human even longer. It's been pretty neat to see these guys just kind of grow into their professional driver status and whatnot.
It's weird seeing him on TV and at these. Well, I guess it's not TV per se.
Yeah.
Well, until this year, it will be.
Some sort of, I saw like new broadcasting or something. But anyway.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it, but damn, I don't even remember what I was going.
Yeah,
with
just
that.
to see those guys grow into that
I've seen him at
status.
like local tracks like Clarksville and stuff, Human and Hurst, and you always see him out there.
Right.
Obviously, I'm not East Coast Tennessee, so I don't get to see a lot of these guys out here too much.
Yeah.
But so as far as wraps and stuff, what is the process for anyone that does kind of come to you?
Yeah,
wanting a
so
wrap?
obviously we want to know what car it is. What's the stat? What's the state of the paint? What color is the paint? So is the paint oxidized? Is it brand new? How old's the car? All of those are super important up front to know, because it tells us what do we need to do to prep it, or what do we need to tell you in order to to do it in order to prep it properly, so we can just start wrapping versus spend our time cleaning it, because we prefer wrapping and not clean, but we'll do it if we have to. And then after that, just obviously getting the year, make, model. What are you going for? What kind of look are you going for? What kind of style? I always encourage direction, because it's like I could come up with something cool and you'll say it's cool, but then at the end of the day you're like, yeah, but it's not really up my alley, right? So And I'm like, dude, you're not gonna hurt my feelings. Just tell me what you want. We'll make it happen. And I get it. Like it's some folks it's a little tough to like really visualize or conceptualize an idea. But you're like I try to pull it out of them. Like, what's your favorite color? What kind of music do you like? What's your favorite hobby? Yeah,
Bring out the car salesman
yeah, exactly,
techniques,
exactly. Yeah, basically.
I get
And
it.
so yeah, how loud or how mild do you want to go? We'll make it happen. So it's pretty neat. So then after that, that's design work side, and then now is it like what colors do you want? Is it something we can print in one layer? Or is it something where you want some, metallic, or do you want chrome or overlay type style application? And so, a good rule of thumb is like you think about it, like if you're going into like chromes and metallics, you're usually going to be doing layers of film. So the more layers of film that go on a car, the more it's going to cost. And so, we get some guys that are super excited and they want to chrome out everything until I give them the bill. I'm like, dude, this is insane. Like, I'm in if you're in. Like, let's do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So,
What's the difficulty in working with Chrome? Because you hear people talk about that a lot. It just doesn't lay down the same.
it's the stretchability, the conformability, right? Like certain chromes, like 3M used to have their own chrome. They did take it out of the market because they just weren't satisfied with it not being as pliable as normal film. There's other manufacturers that still have their product out in the market. The problem is if you overstretch it, you start to see it kind of fade out, or just kind of like almost like it gets a little bit white, like milky, and that means you've overstretched it. It bruises fairly easily, and so even though this is a super expensive film and most likely is an expensive install, you got to still explain to the client like, hey, this may have some imperfections, but overall, like, this thing is going to wow you from like 5 feet plus away when you're on the racetrack. Because at the end of the day, I mean, that's what that's what they're for.
Is
right?
the majority of your car Chrome?
It was, yeah, it was. So I saw a product on the market and I was like, let's just try it out. And it was like a iridescent chrome. So it had that like oil slick type, reflection to it. And I still love it. I miss it. We actually, we went with a new single color this year. It's, what is it? High gloss, what is it? High gloss citric acid green. Oh, dude, yeah, it's crazy. And I was
Sounds
like,
vibrant.
huh?
Sounds vibrant.
The color itself is ridiculous. Like, it's blinding. Like, yeah, I sent a screenshot to my wife, and she's like, "Why are we doing this?" So I'm like, I don't know. But we saw it on the try. Yeah, I know. We got to try it. And 3M's like hooking us up. Like, let's. It's a new product. It wasn't even on the market yet. I think it just barely hit market. And so I was like, let's check it out. And but then like we did a surprise pop-up event at Chilhowie, and that was a whole thing. But like after just he was like, I was watching that on the track and it actually looks good. I'm like, I'm kind of liking it too. So we may leave it like that for a little bit. I do miss like the livery and the old livery, and I like what I worked out with it. I just I think I kept that livery for like maybe 4 or 5 years. I just changed the colors out. Not a lot of people realize that, so I may do the same thing again, but with different colors. We'll see. Like it's
when you got the wrap shop, you might as well.
Exactly.
I'd be changing it 4 times a year probably.
Yeah.
Just the brain starts spinning, the creativity flows.
Yeah, the training
I
vehicle.
couldn't do it.
The training vehicle. Any new guy, go ahead and wrap all this car.
Tell them what you drive, by the way.
So I've got a base model 2006 Corvette C6. I got it off of a guy named Willie Culver who lives in Nashville. Every time he sees me, he's like, "Can I buy it back?" I'm sorry, I'm still not selling it.
Every time I see him, I give him shit for selling it because that was a good car.
Yeah, dude, it is. It's like it's been super fun to drive. I've gradually kept improving the build. It's on Wisefab on all 4 corners. It's field suspension all 4 corners. And like it just like the thing's a rocket ship. We finally got it on the dyno. So like Cash actually did some top end work on it for me. He did a BTR Stage 3 LS3 cam, and it just gave it like a plug and play tune. And then so we actually got it on the dyno like about a month ago for the first time, and so it's putting down like 450 452 to the wheels, so pretty modest. I mean, it's been a seat time car big time, and that was my biggest worry, because after having kids, you're like, I want to get to the track and just drive, not mess around and work on my car. And I started in an RX-8, and so 0 horsepower, had a welded diff, handbrake that barely worked, and just learned how to
13B.
No, so the 13B Renesis, the Renesis. So I was probably putting like, I don't know, 90 to the wheels or something stupid. So you had to learn how to throw the car, right? And so learning how to throw the car, I think in essence makes you a better driver. You
I
know,
love the body style of those cars.
yeah,
Obviously, the motor
yeah,
didn't get the best
right.
reputation, but I don't know why a lot of people don't use those cars more often.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest things I was a fan of, was definitely the body style. You know, the power plant wasn't the best, but you know, trying to work your way around it, you know, driving it to tracks, hoping you didn't crash or anything, especially like, you know, only driving for about a year and a half maybe. Um, and you know, I had been saving up to get like I wanted a 20B in there, and I actually bought one, but never had the time to actually get the
Oh
work
shit.
done. So I ended up selling it
Oh
and made
yeah,
money on the
yeah.
block. So you know, I got it, you know, imported and everything. I ended up making money on the block. But then after that, I was just like, the car's apart, and I was trying to do it myself. I'm like, nah, I need
I
another
can't
car.
do this right now. Yeah.
I need another car. So
Did you ever
yeah,
go back to rotaries?
so yeah, so I sold. So would I ever, or did I
Yeah.
ever? So
Would you?
I would go back. I do miss the sounds, and like, so I miss my FB. So I miss my, you know, it was a 88 or 80. It was 89, and then my cousin did the motor work on it. I had Haltech come in and help, you know, do some tune on it, and I think after 4 or 5 motors we went through, we actually got it up to like 389 to the wheel, and it was like a big Borg Warner turbo. I mean, I loved it. Like, it was, I mean, it sounded good, it felt good, and it ran, and it was like, you know, extended, you know, modded knuckles, like nothing fancy on the suspension, just yeah, and it was wild. And so if I ever did go back to a rotary, like, it would be kind of in that fashion, you know, to have a nice clean build like that, and it just put out some nasty power and sound good. Like, I do miss the sound. I do miss the sound, but
Surprised you said that chassis. You said MB,
FB,
FB.
yeah.
Okay.
I mumble a
Still,
lot. Say my
that's
guys say that.
crazy.
Yeah, the FB.
I didn't know you were that deep into like rotary stuff back in the
I'm
day.
sorry, not FB, FC. Sorry, 88
All
FC.
right.
Take it back.
We're getting all twisted
Rewrite.
up.
We are FC.
I
They're
have one
looking at me
sitting in
like,
my
you're fucking
driveway. You
up.
want to
You're
buy
fucking
one?
up. The FC?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, no, not right now, dude. No, I can't. I really can't.
Dang.
No.
If
Tempting, but
anybody wants it, you're more than welcome
yeah,
to buy it.
tempting, but nah, no, it's yeah. So FC, the FB. My brother had an FB, so first gen, and that's what that was what got me into like wanting to drift. I went back to California. I'm from California. Went back home to visit him. He's like, let's go check this out. We went to Irwindale, went to the parking lot. Nothing was going on. So he's like showing me what this is. I'm like, oh, okay. And this is like back in, I don't know, 2001. Way back. Yeah, yeah. So, but anyway, yeah. So I do miss rotaries. Maybe one day, if the stars
We
align.
just try to stay behind the seat.
Trying to stay behind the
Stay
seat.
or
So
behind the
yeah,
wheel.
yeah. Well, and like,
Whatever.
so like that car, like once that thing died, the FC, I was like, okay, I need something that give rides. You know, I wanted to give rides. So I got a G35 4-door, and that was super fun for what it was. Like, I had a blast. Yeah, I mean, it was, you know, gave a lot of people, you know, rides. You know, everybody wore their seatbelt, but it had leather seats, so people were fucking sliding around in the back. Yeah, yeah, it was a good time for sure. And then one day I left, and we had some coilovers come in. They were just sitting there, and I left the shop, and my guys like ran out of things to do. So I come back, they put the coilovers on, and it's things fucking sitting on the ground.
Sitting
I'm
on
like,
his nuts.
okay,
Oh.
well, let's see
I
what it
guess
does.
we're here now.
I
Yeah.
guess we're here. Yeah, so every now and again the oil pan would smack the ground a couple times, and but yeah, that was a fun car too. And then the pandemic hit. I sold everything. It was like, we don't know what's gonna happen. Uh, and
Yeah,
then
we were just talking about that a little bit before.
yeah.
Oh, I guess before you dive into that, give them, tell them how like East 10 kind of started, how this all came about, because you run Pro-Am and
Yeah.
do all sorts of stuff now.
So let's see. I say back in like 2011. You know, I had already had visited my brother obviously years ago, and I was like, I really want to do this. There was really nowhere to do it. At that point, like Turner Field, they had like the guys down in Atlanta got that taken away. NSS had shut down, and then Charlotte just seemed you know, a bit too far away. And that was about as much as the internet afforded me in regards to information, like back in those days. Like, and this is again like, you know, 2008 to 2009ish. But you know, getting myself to the point of, I got a car, let's go do this. Like I said, NSS was gone, Turner Field was gone. I met a good buddy of mine. He was from California too, and he was hardcore into drifting, and may or may not have done street drifting back out in North Cal. But he's like, yeah, dude, we need to figure this out. And like he had a network of friends too that were like into drifting, and I had experience in like event management, damage control, risk management, and stuff like that. And I had a pretty decent network because at that point I'd been working in Knoxville and living in Knoxville for about 10, 12 years or so. And I'm pretty big into like business networking and stuff like that, especially with graphic design, like, going out, networking your service and whatnot. So I kind of put all my resources together and was able to rent Chilhowie Park for the first time. And so we had our first event March of 2012. And it was that group of friends, like it was like kind of a private day. We had like 2 or 3 officers like there as risk managers as well. And they're like, you guys could do this. It's cool. Like, this is where you guys need to separate yourselves. We're like, yeah, we understand that. Thank you. But then at the end of the day, he's like, hey, you ever thought of opening this up to the public? I'm like, seems like a headache, but maybe. He's like, well, people are wanting to come in and watch. I'm like, okay. So then it kind of snowballed. Like, the park was like, hey, you need to do more. Maybe do 3 or 4 more. And so I think we planned for 4 more for the year. So total in that year we did 5, and like each one got a little bigger, a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. And it was all like back in the day, organic, Facebook marketing. Like it just organic reach, like,
You
and
barely even make an event page at that
Yeah.
point, I think, right?
yeah. And so the thing was like there was no regulations, right? So they weren't like selecting who was seeing your stuff. It was everybody local was seeing our stuff, and so it would grow and grow and grow. And so following year we come back, and so we schedule 8. And it's like, now you're starting to get into like, how many more drivers do we have left, and can they make every single one? So we were making ends meet. Like everything was paying for itself. If we had more spectators but less drivers, that's fine because it's helping, pay the rent basically. And then come 2014, we got the boot. The neighborhood, because we're like in a neighborhood, you're in the streets, in an area there, the neighborhood didn't like it. They had been complaining to the park, but the park didn't say anything to us. Yeah, and so we got the short end of the stick. So then at that point it's like, okay, how do we pivot? Where can we go next? And so thankfully we're able to move to Smoky Stadium, parking lot, but we'll make it work. Like we need somewhere to go. And so thankfully City of Sevierville, I think they're still pretty car friendly. They're getting a little bit more strict nowadays, but they're like, yeah, come on out, rent the park, do your thing. And so we were out there up until 2024. And
Did the fact that it was just a parking lot really affect like how many drivers would come?
Not really.
No.
No,
Okay.
we would see anywhere from 30 to 50 cars. And they would come from everywhere. They would come from Kentucky. They would come from Charlotte, North Carolina, even Atlanta.
It shows this like scarcity of events
right.
at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we start getting into like, hey, we don't have this here. Can you host one here? And it's like, find me a place. And so we would call and ask, and all of these, mom and pop drag strips or small racetracks that had the asphalt, they were like, nah, this looks sketchy. What kills me now is like now they're like, yeah, bring it in,
they're all for it now.
because it's like, hey, this is rain or shine.
What was their like reasoning back in the day?
It looked too radical. It looked out of control.
That was it?
It looked dangerous. Yeah. They did, and then the insurance aspect of it too. Like they didn't, their coverage didn't cover it, and so I think back then, like adding it as another thing to insure was going to raise their costs, and then maybe it wasn't going to be worth it. But we were able to get out to like NSS, because that's about the time when Barry kind of took a step back for his company. So we got out to NSS, Beach Bend, ZMAX out in Charlotte. And at that point, like we even started like so there's a lot in the background going on. So we're traveling to like Memphis, with Traction Optional, Scott and Andrew Chang and all them. And so we're building this relationship with them.
It's a far drive. People don't realize how
But
long
it was
Tennessee is.
It really is. And so our pit stop was Human's house in Nashville. So we'd pit stop there, and then the next day we're going to Memphis. And so, but even like, golly, I remember like a whole other thing even before like Barry, took his break, was like we did State of Drift. And so State of Drift was like a Pro-Am prep series. So it's like getting you ready for Pro-Am. And so between East 10, Tennessee Drift, and Traction Optional, we put together the series, and it was really successful the first year and maybe the second year. But I know one of it was either the second or third year where it just like we ran out of drivers, and like they either went straight to pro-am or we just like people were building to get there. And it's like one of those things where it's like a double-edged sword, because like people are building and now you don't have drivers to continue, and so when they're done with their build, they're like, what happened? It's like, well, we couldn't sustain it, and here we are. But it was fun. It built relationships between the three entities. I still love visiting the guys out in West Tennessee when we can, and hanging out with the guys in Middle Tennessee with Barry and Brian Schiraldi and all them. And so it really kind of strengthened us as a state for drifting. But then, like I said, then Barry took the break. I took over NSS. That even led to doing stuff like at Lanier, I think one or two times. So it's like we were trying to meet demand of going everywhere. And so by the time we get to 2019, I'm on the road for like 32 weekends out of the year, like hosting events.
And how much was one event costing you alone to even run
so like
at
and
the
it like
time?
so like ZMAX alone was like 15 grand, just the facility. That's not hotels for the team or food and gas, you know what I mean? And so the challenge there was asking the drivers like, hey, share it up, try to get this out there. We have zero budget, we want people to come and help supplement the cost, and get the spectators in, and that's honestly been since the get-go, like coming up with like support local drift back in the day. Like I honestly, like I got that, and it could have existed somewhere else, but working in the sign industry, I think early 2008 or late 2000s, there was like this market, and they're like, support local business, and that just really stuck to me. So like with this was like, it just kind of flowed out it just rolled off the tongue, right? Support local drift. And so that kind of had been the thing, and that was always the campaign, is like telling the drivers like, we want them to support local drift, we want to keep doing this. I'll do it if we can, but I cannot pay for this out of my pocket. Like I am a blue collar worker just like you guys. Like I'm just like, and it was tough. Like now it's kind of the same thing. Like we want it to pay for itself, but we try to get sponsors, we try to be very reasonable with where we go and how much it costs, but plus there's so much more now. And so the saving grace to that is, it's insane. If you compare 2019, where there was very little in the region, to now, it's like we've got probably a racetrack within a 4-mile radius of us. If you think of like Winners and Driven Luck and Foothills Club, Drift Club, and Virginia even up there, and of course if we have Bristol, we have Newport Speedway, but it's awesome because it's like, when we did hit that pandemic curse, it was like a blessing in disguise. Like it allowed me to take a step back and just kind of reassess a little bit, realize how much I was really on the road, meeting my wife, and thinking like, if I'm gonna have kids, how is this gonna work, and then end up having a couple kids in that amount of time. But then like realizing like I really do miss this, I really miss it. And the point I realized that, because I had no car or anything, we got asked by Dude Perfect, like, hey, we're doing a show.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
They're like, we're doing a show at Bristol, and we want to see if you can hire a couple cars and come out and teach us how to drift. And so there's an episode out there that we taught them how to drift. So, but I lay out this course in the infield of the track, and I don't have a car, so I asked a buddy of mine who brought his. He brought like 3 cars, David Leffel, and one of them was just like a Drift Missile Mustang dog box, just all motor, V8, naturally aspirated. Like I get in there and I link the whole course one lap, but right before I take off, he's like, put in third letter E, and so I'm like, okay, I think I could do this. And so link the whole course, and after that, I looked at my wife, I was like, Jenna, it's like, I think I need a V8 in my life. And that was it, dude. Instant torque. I was like, and then I saw Willie's post, and the rest is history with the vet. But
yeah.
But anyway,
signed off on it.
But yeah, like just the way the community has grown and how much is out there, it's pretty amazing to see that and to know that we have some small part in it. Like it's pretty neat. I'm pretty proud of it, and especially with all the drivers that we have in our community, and it all intertwines. Like this place, like I get some folks like, is it worth it still doing that? It's like, I mean, it it intertwines a little bit with our business because like we're in the race industry, not just commercial stuff, right? It's like it's we're almost like a go-to for like either advice on what to use for wrap, or can you wrap my car, or what do you think about this, or do you have a resource for that? I mean, it's pretty neat how it all works.
Yeah. It's gotta put you in a bind at some places. Though. 'Cause I didn't realize how big the shop was, how like crammed you are, and you're
Yeah,
kind of like just outgrowing this place. So
yeah,
you got a lot happening behind the scenes, and then trying to tackle a whole pro
right,
am series along
yeah.
with other events and stuff. It's got to take away from the whole drifting side of things. This
It
has
de-
to be your focus,
it
right?
definitely does. It does. Thankfully, I have a really good team. On these event days, and it's almost like it runs seamlessly. Being able even from just a grassroots event to pro am. I think I don't think there's a necessarily a loss of quality on the track. I do see in my eyes, I do see a loss of quality in the back end work. The admin work. Getting the promotions out there, getting these sponsors, to come in and agree and take part in our season, stuff like that. Like, yeah, you're right. It is super tough, especially running this operation here, because in this facility is not big enough for us. Like we are literally busting at the seams and are taking the proper measurements to be able to get out of here and move into a bigger spot. But at the same time, at a different scale, at a smaller scale per se, we are taking those measurements needed to improve our back end work for East 10. One of the biggest struggles that I've got right now is that, like, for us with Pro Am, like, I like Pro Am. I'm a bit competitive when it comes to it. Like, like, I want to make sure like the drivers that come out of our series are podium worthy or well prepared either way. I don't want to under promise, or I'm sorry, I don't want to over promise. I'd rather under promise and over produce. And for me, that means that I don't want to give you a license and you think that's it, that's all you need. Like, you need, and I've heard it multiple times on your programs. Like, you need the budget, you need the attitude, you need the knowledge of how to market, you need the knowledge of how to lead a team, all of that logistics. I mean, not everybody realizes that. They think, some people think like, I'm gonna get that license and I'm getting paid. Like, no, it's negative. It's
Not how
opposite.
it works at all.
It's
Yeah.
opposite. Yeah. And so for me, like I'm competitive in a way to where I want to see one of our drivers podium at every event, at every FD event, be it pro spec or pro. And the little bit of a blend you have there is that same thing with AZ Rag. I want to see one of our sponsored drivers, podium on either or, right? Um, but like with pro am, trying to give the drivers what they want, is my biggest thing, but also give them the value for what they're paying us to do, because it at the end of the day, it's a job. Yeah, yes, I love to party. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, after the course goes cold, like I'm a different person. But during the day when the event's going on, like it's business. I want it to be fair for you, for this other driver. Like, I don't need this driver who doesn't give a shit about somebody else ruining your time, right? So I take that super serious. So kind of same thing, with Pro Am, is that I want to make sure I'm giving you just that close enough insight to how FD runs their events, because when you get there, I don't want you to be the dumbass who doesn't know what the hell's going on. I want you to be, one of the best rookies into the series that knows what to expect and knows how to conduct themselves in the pits, on the track, in the hot pits, right? Um, so I want you to stand out in that regard. Um, and I want to, again, simulate as much as I can. So, like, for instance, we're probably the only spec tire series in Pro Am. You know, Being able to do that with GT Radio for the past couple of years has been great, but we weren't able to do that this year because, like,
Yeah, what happened with that, by the way?
so GT Radio basically, like, cut off any sales of that tire to anybody outside of Pro Spec. So, and are they going to be Pro Spec tire next year? I think that's up in the air. I may know more, but I don't know if I could say it. But it's probably up in the air. Um, Other than that, it's like, I still want to stick to that, like, spec tire. Like, to even the odds for everybody. I don't care how much horsepower you have, how good your setup is. Like everybody's on the same tire. Like let's put your money where your mouth is. Basically, like show
Like
us.
same size and everything, or
No, so
they
that
can
was
choose
so that
same
was
size?
the other thing. So one, we came off of GT Radio 2, the size of tire that we were presented, 245, 45, 18s. So some of these guys are running like 10 and a half, 11 wide wheels, and they're like, I can't do that. And I'm like, I get it. And unfortunately, because the deal was made so quickly and all this kind of happened so quickly, it's like we didn't have enough time, to get all that out for these drivers to be ready for it. So trying to commit to the early start of the season like we usually do, I ended up having to postpone because everybody's still trying to get their ducks in a row, which is fine. I'd rather postpone than to have zero season. So the other thing was some drivers were like, I want to spread the rounds out a little bit more, and then some drivers were like, I want to keep the back to back. So it kind of works out for those drivers, and keeping the back to back rounds, 2 rounds in Bristol, 2 rounds in Newport is going to work out for them. The tire thing, I think everybody's starting to like kind of open up a little bit about it, because like the tire is going to be like $110 a tire, and that comes with your service and your disposal, right?
Oh, with disposal. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
so
cool.
that's with everything. So and so I think that's definitely going to be a key for, especially like with costs going up so much, like being able, like we've got that contracted in, like that price isn't going to change. And so I think that's going to work on our behalf. Going back to the doubleheader, rounds, like we're starting to see drivers' interest build. And then like kind
On
of,
the double header thing, because like we talked about also prepping drivers and stuff for the pro spec rounds. Do you not think that kind of goes against that
I do.
concept?
Yeah,
Okay,
I do.
because I would say so as well.
Yeah.
So wouldn't that be something that you'd probably just go against what the drivers are wanting, and then
Yes. And that is
just do
explained,
the
and
rounds individual?
that has been explained to them in the past. And unfortunately for us, like trying to keep that cost down, like we've got like almost no choice. Right. So like doing it the original way, working with Bristol would have helped keep that cost down. But because we have to, think about how many times we got to rent the facility, how much more is that going to cost us? Like this is the best way we can do it and keep that price point at a decent rate, right?
Because the price of it, I guess, for a driver went up this year, right?
So it
Just a
went
little
up.
bit.
So again, like trying to, appease the drivers, getting that feedback of like people wanting a purse. So I was like, okay, we can do a purse, but the driver's going to build the purse. Like I can't get this out of my own pocket, right? So basically raising that price up to like 3,500, which is as much as a pro spec entry. Like I've got half the field saying, well, if they can't pay this, how are they going to pay it when they get to pro spec? And then you've got the other half who are like, I can't afford to pay that. And so in that mix, you have the drivers who want the purse, and then the other ones who really don't care,
There's with the license,
right?
yeah.
They want the license. And so I was like, okay, well, you're going to get 35% of this money that you've contributed. That's going to the purse, right? Originally. So that was the original plan, and it did not, like, it didn't go over well. And honestly, like that was bad judgment on my call, or a bad call on myself here. But we fixed it. Like I said, all right, let's reset. We'll bring that back down to, we brought it down to 2,500 for the 4 rounds. And so, and there's still going to be a purse, because now like RTS stepped up. They said, we're going to go ahead and do a purse. And so, yeah, so it's not a huge purse, but it's like, I think it's like 1,500 and 250. So
Still
for a second,
something,
third,
yeah.
yeah. So it's
Give you
something they
something
get
back.
back. Yep. And so, and we appreciate, Rick over there at RTS. He's a good dude, and he's always wanting to support. But I think that, that's going to be, that's a nice addition to what we're doing. Um, so, but yeah, it's tough, man. It's like pro-am and trying to, meet those expectations, and like I said, build these drivers. Like, we want them to come out, especially like being more focused this year on not overlapping. Cause like last year, and this has always been a little bit of an issue for us, is like for Bristol, because our costs are kept down, because they kind of give us our dates to partner with their like street fights events, like a Run What You Brung drag strip event. And so we weren't able to get our schedule out till like, I think it's like usually like middle of January, end of January, somewhere around there. And that was the downside to that. Um, and so uh, I forgot what I was saying. I was going to say, what were we saying?
Talking about the deal with Bristol.
Oh yeah, yeah. So with Bristol, so so those dates, getting those dates super late, it makes it super challenging to present anything to like potential sponsors, because usually you want to talk to these guys like in October, November, and get this stuff settled in where we don't have dates until the end of the year, or until the beginning of the new year anyway. Some companies, you want to talk to them in like August or July because some of those budgets are built around that time. So trying to figure all that out and make this work for everybody, it's been challenging. But I think ideally this year, if Newport goes really well, like their schedule is a lot more open to us, and we'd be able to actually schedule our stuff like somewhere in October, November for the upcoming year. So, but yeah, no, it's been challenging. Like we do our best for Pro-Am. I think we definitely run a pretty good, we run a really good program out there. Here's what I was talking. My point was on the dates. Sorry, I'm scatterbrained. So our point, with dates was like, last year we it hurt us that we overlapped like USDC and I think maybe even clutch kickers. And so like this year, I have been I made it a point to connect with them, make sure we're not overlapping, and so then that way you're not having drivers pick and choose. So that was the point I was trying to get to with.
That's got to be the biggest hurdle nowadays.
Yeah.
For not just you guys, but just
For everything.
event hosts in general. Yeah, it's hard to really kind of. There's so many events to keep up with now. You can't physically reach out to that many people.
Right.
To, I guess, weed in where your events can go. I couldn't imagine. That would irritate the hell out of me.
It is. It's tough, and at some point nowadays, you just got to kind of like, if this is what the venue wants and this is what they're willing to support for you to do, like you just kind of, you can't really say no, until like you prove that, okay, we're either doing something good or we're just not getting enough drivers, and like at that point you say, okay, we gotta either cancel this one little event and just focus on the next one. But it is very surprising as to, how many, about every weekend there's something going on. And like you could go anywhere if you want to drive. Yeah, it's nuts. And so it's ridiculous when it comes down to the saturation of it. But there's that many more drivers, and there's that many more people that are gaining the interest, and there's that many more drivers that are going to come out with some form of drift car and do it. Like the last event we had, we had this guy super stoked, excited, never done it before. He brought out a Lexus 350 F Sport automatic rear wheel drive.
The hell?
I don't know dude, I'm so bad at like freaking car models, dude. I don't even know how I just like to drive. No, it was like rear wheel drive automatic Lexus, and I was like, dude, you're gonna hurt your car. He said, well, you get in here and show me. I was like, I'll give it a shot. One wheel wonder. And so I just, we had a nice, like, real, like, elaborate technical course, and there was a donut that you can go around a couple different ways. And so I started at the donut. I was like, all right, let's see if I could break this loose. So I finally break it loose, and I was like, all right, let's see if I can go ahead and, transition over and get to the next cone. And I did that, and I ended up getting to the next cone. I got to the sweeper, and I was like, I got to stop. I'm going to break this car. But like, those are the drivers that are coming out. They're coming out. They're wanting to try it, or and now he's like, the guy's like, I'm gonna go get another car. I'm gonna go buy another car so I can just do this. So great, do it. And so those are the guys that you're excited to see come out and want to learn and want to put in their focus into the sport and become a driver. So it's pretty wild.
Yeah. Well, on that kind of driver standpoint, as an event host, you kind of get to see people venture from grassroots all the way up to like getting into Pro-Am, going into competition stuff, especially hosting the competition. So from your side of things, how do you prep the drivers to even be somewhat competitive or even be somewhat marketable or what? Because like, you're going to have the guys that come into Pro-Am. They got the money to pay for it, but like they just don't care at all about the program side of things or, making things look presentable.
There's so much that can go into that. It's like, okay, if you got the money, but you don't care to put the effort into the program, then you better hire somebody that can help you do that. If you have the money. If you don't have the money, then it's not going to work out for you. You're going to struggle. You need to learn how to be able to compensate your help. Because if not, that's going to get old really fast, or you're going to work through a bunch of friends or acquaintances that are helping you there for X amount of time. You're going to reach a burnout rate with them, and your driving and your program isn't going to be consistent. Your program affects your driving. So like if if I was competing and I didn't have anybody to change my tires, I'd be exhausted, and when I get to the line, I wouldn't be able to focus. And that's one easy example of that, right? So, making sure these guys know, how to talk to people, how to treat them, how to manage people, how to ask for things, or even get the family involved. People, they have their family members who are just as excited to be a part of it, and they're willing to help, and they understand the effort. And that's not a bad thing. That's
They're some
fine.
of the best groups, like
Yeah.
because they just make food for everyone too.
Right. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Exactly. Exactly. You're gonna be well fed, and so there's a lot involved in that. I I always tell the guys, like, yeah, you may be the best driver, but you may not win if you don't have the best team. Like, your driving is not gonna rescue you.
The reason I brought it up is because out of all of the drivers that had programs and like had like from an event host, it would be hard for me to hand over a license to someone that doesn't really have the budget to continue, or whether that's the sponsorship to continue, or
Yeah.
whatever it is. Um, how do you deal with that, as like, especially getting the backlash from that after the fact?
So I haven't necessarily seen any backlash from a license we have given. Like, I do ask the question before the license is given, like, can you afford this? Are you going to be able to pay for registration? Are you going to be able to manage your season? It's four rounds of prospect. So, we haven't seen an issue yet. I've seen, like Heishman, like, he's, even though he's had some struggles on the track, like, he's still there. He's doing well. Zelensky, I haven't heard anything negative from them. I know they have the funds and the mindset and the capability. Krudel, like, he's coming in this year. I had a talk with him. I was like, "You sure you're ready for it?" And he said,
I think that was the one most people were kind of like, that I heard, worry about.
Yeah.
Just because, especially, the car
Yeah.
wasn't wrapped.
Well,
But it's pro-am too. So how
yeah,
much
it's one of
can
those
you
things.
really...
Like, I feel like there's a bit of a judgment there on the cover of a book. I mean, the dude rolls in the only guy that rolls in a big rig. You know,
Dude can
and
shred.
yeah, he can drive. And he won. And so I want to see him on podium. He was ready for it, and he was very sincere. And I told him, I was like, please be honest with me, be honest with yourself. Are you gonna be able to do this? And he said, yeah, I can handle it. And so, we'll see this year. But I stand behind my calls. Like, it's tough, like, especially when you're in the judging position. It's super tough because you've got to pay attention to every little single thing. There's times where I've had to find myself in, doing multiple things at the same time. And I am not going to do that again. Like this year, we've got a good team of judges. I've got Greg Bucell, he's coming back. Tony Scholes. Yep.
Love Greg
Yeah.
so much.
Nah, super stoked to have him back. And then, of course, Tony Scholes, he's been with the program since we started, even back in the Turismo Drift days. And then Brian Schiraldi, I think he's going to be coming out and judging with us this year. Is I believe he confirmed with me. And so, yeah, I've got a solid team for judging this year. As far as like the live stream stuff goes, like, we're not going to really focus on it. It's going to be an extra if we can do it or not.
That's
Like,
I was getting to that next.
Yeah, but yeah,
It
so
doesn't seem very worth it from an outsider perspective
Yeah.
for a pro-am.
I know it's another one of those things, dude. It's like, I feel like a lot of promoting, a lot of the feeling you get as a promoter is like, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, right? So, like, yeah, like, we're like kind of at this mindset, like, do we want to do it? Nah, not really. We're not going to worry about it. But then I'm sure we'll get some backlash about not putting this thing
Oh,
up
of
on
course,
stream.
yeah. What was the reasoning for doing the live stream last year?
Oh, I mean, we wanted to present a really cool production. We want to set the stage for these drivers to be able to, provide something to their sponsors. Like, check this out. We are on this live stream. This is getting X amount of views. To provide some value for them, and also obviously for us, right? Like, because if we're getting views, like, our sponsors are going to see that and they're going to like it. They're going to want to continue, supporting us, in the next season and whatnot. And so, that was kind of the angle for it. I think our challenge last year was just like signal, and the fact that, again, because we're low budget, we literally would have to set everything up, the day of and get it going. Yeah. Yeah. And so, will we do it again? Who knows? But if we do it again, like, we're going to have a trailer and you just literally plug it up.
Yeah.
One plug and that's it. But yeah,
Oh, that's
that was
funny.
kind of like, and that's a thought process to it. Like, I'd like to take a very like business minded approach to what we do. I like to feel like we have a good balance. Like, yeah, we have the fun balance, the balance of fun and business. Like, we've been told multiple times, like, you're not uptight, you're not, like, it's not a dry environment. Like, you guys do have, like, some culture. It is fun, but you also make sure we're safe, and we appreciate that. And that's kind of like the balance that I like to keep. It's kind of the same thing here. Like, there's a culture here. Like, this is business. We need to make money. We need to be able to provide and put food on the table. But at the end of the day, we want to have style. We want to have culture. We want to be the go-tos for any of that type of stuff. And so, like, I like to apply that to drifting as well, where, like I said, when track is hot, we want to be safe. We want to make sure you're getting all the seat time you can get. We want to make sure we get that car off the track that broke in less than 5 minutes. We want to make sure we can respond to your car on fire in less than that, like in a minute. Some people don't grasp that concept, or just write it off and think it'll never happen. Like, unfortunately, in my head, I think of every worst case scenario that I could ever think of, and I'm probably like an old Hispanic grandmother in my head is probably what I am. But that's that. But again, we want to make sure everybody's having fun and they're safe, and that's what it is.
There's- As an event host, I would say that's top priority myself. So,
Yeah.
well, as far as moving forward for this year, what are the dates for the pro-am? Do we have that
Yeah,
fully decided?
so we haven't necessarily changed dates. We just basically dropped one weekend. So we dropped the weekend in April. So we're round 1 and round 2 in August. I believe it's the 15th and the 16th, and then round 3 and 4, the final round, in September, September 12th and 13th at Newport Speedway. And so I'm super stoked for Newport Speedway. It's got a bank, so they actually consider it a mini Bristol, which is so it's like it's weird. It's not as, if you're thinking of like the bank at the Fairground Speedway in Nashville. So the bank is not as big, but the scale of angle, the grade of is very similar, right? So it's just downsized, and so it would almost give us like, if we could get a little bit more asphalt in the infield, it'll almost give us like a mini version of Irwindale. And so, yeah, and so this it's well contained. It's been revamped. Like, the new owner bought it and took possession of it last April, and I mean, I think it used to house like 15,000 junk cars. And so, yeah, and so, like, inside of, like, I don't know, I think it was 2 or 3 months, they had them all gone. They had new asphalt in this infield. The grandstands were getting painted. Yeah, this dude is a genius. He's very smart. He actually owns, I don't know if you ever heard of the Cotton Eye Joe, but he owns Cotton Eye Joe. So he's super into marketing. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be like a part concert venue as well. But yeah, that's ideally would be our home track for all 4 rounds. In 2027. So we're crossing fingers that it works out really well. I mean, the track, the people that run the track, I mean, they're super awesome people. They want to see crazy shit all the time. I mean, we're, when we have the ability, we run the bank whenever we can. Like, it's intimidating. Like, we had our event, a couple Fridays ago, and I had the vet still, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to run the line, and I was like, oh man, like, it's fast, it's intimidating, and I was like, I have not enough horsepower for this. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, so
If the bank's as steep as you're talking, then yeah, I could see
yeah,
that.
yeah. I mean, it's either all of third or fourth,
Ooh,
and so
Jesus Christ.
it'll be bank, it'll be an inner clip on the straightaway, and then transition into the infield.
Mm.
And then again, depending on how much asphalt they lay down, it'll kind of dictate the rest of the course layout.
That'll be cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. Well, is there any major changes for this year that we didn't speak about that you want to make sure to announce?
Just nothing super major. I mean, obviously, if you are getting yourself ready for Pro-Am, take a look at the Pro-Am book. There's a link to the FD site Pro-Am book there. Ultimately we want you to be safe. So, if you have a majority of the major safety components, you'll most likely be okay. But it's, we're not afraid of answering those tech questions. Send us a message. Give me a minute. Like, probably get to the Instagram messages quicker than I do the Facebook page. But we'll get you settled up. If you know somebody who's been in our pro-am program before, reach out to them. I'm sure they'll give you my number, and then just reach out to me that way. But yeah, life's pretty busy, for me right now. Like, like talking about like the background stuff, between this, running those events. I coach my son's baseball team too. Family time, dude. Like yeah, dude. Most of my like late night questions don't get answered till like 8 o'clock, 8:30, because then I'm here at like 5 a.m. So I'm probably asleep by like 9:30, dude. Yeah, I'm like grandpa almost. But no, other than that, like, we're gonna do a 2-day like Matsuri style event in May at Bristol. So like camp out and stuff like that. If y'all know Kodak Dan, I've got him. He's my cold course activities manager. So we'll be doing some fun activities after the course goes cold. And then just, yeah, man, no matter where you're at, like, always go out and support that local track, no matter where it's at. Support your local drifters. Have fun. Just, stay positive, and just always answer the questions of those newbies or the people that want to get into it. But that's about it. Like, we try to keep it simple. Try to like I said, have fun and raise a good community.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Well, last question I'm gonna ask is for anyone getting into competition, since you have this 20+ year experience of hosting them, what is the advice you'd give to someone?
I'm almost close to 20 years, but I would say,
that's close enough.
yeah, close. Yeah. If you want to get into competition, start off, with the open mindset. Get into it. Don't expect a podium in the first event, and get a taste for it. And then start to think about, is this something I want to make a career out of? Because at that point, you need to know that you need to train yourself to be, presentable to the public, self-manageable or managed by other people, and be good with money, and be willing to, do what it takes to make some sacrifices. Like, there's definitely a lot of sacrifices involved, for sure.
Absolutely. I'm sure you could go on and on about all that, but
yeah,
well, just keep it short there.
Cut me off. Yeah. You got to, dude. I could talk forever. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I was just about to say, if I know I'm kind of crunched on time. I got to get stuff to Osoli before
for
5
sure.
o'clock. So if you guys do want to see a little bit more, learn a little bit more behind the Pro-Am series, any of that stuff, just let me know in the comments. I'm fairly local, so I can just come back out. But if anyone does want to reach out and get a wrap, what's the easiest way for them to do that?
So if you want to get a wrap, go to azragips.com. So that's azrag, I as in installation, P as in print, S as in services.com. It's my last name backwards, if you didn't know.
Oh shit!
But you go check that out.
I never realized that. What the hell? Oh my god!
Do everything from A to Z. So just go check it out, or even on Instagram, azragips. Obviously, if you know Sully, you could probably, find him and then find us. Same thing with like Jerry Yang Racing. But we, hit us up. We can, even if you, couldn't bring it to Tennessee, we could always print it and ship it out to you. But, we've got Tyler Berry back here operating the sticker board. So we do stickers too and all that sort of stuff. We appreciate the support, and just hit us up for any of your graphics needs.
Absolutely, dude. Well, cool. I just want to say I appreciate it. Thanks for letting me come invade, especially on a work day.
Yeah.
They're literally all working behind the cameras. It's pretty hilarious.
Yeah. But no, dude, it's super wild. Like, these guys are super focused. We do 410s. We try to be very, work-life, balanced. But, there's always room to make more, right? So if you do want to come in on a Friday, come on in. But everybody here is like, we're all family. We're super focused, trying to get things done. And like, tomorrow can technically be our Friday, but
nice.
Who knows? It's you just got to send it. Keep busting ass.
Well, it's cool, man. It's cool to see, and yes.
Yeah.
Thanks again, man.
No, we appreciate you coming by. It was super fun. Thank you.
Cool. Hell yeah.
Yes, sir.
That was easy. Yet another fantastic episode, except this one was with Louie Garza. And I know we were very short on time for this one, so we probably missed a lot. And I know I missed a lot of follow-up questions that I personally had. So feel free to leave any of the questions that you still have down in the comments, and I will try and reschedule another podcast sometime to come back out here with him and dive a little deeper into everything. But we got some special ones coming up from Long Beach in California for FD. And that one's going to be some interesting stuff. One from Battle Arrow, one from a co-owner of Hot Pits, and then a couple other that I'm completely forgetting. Keep an eye out for those. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that and hit the bell notification so you're notified when those do come out. But other than that, let me know who you guys want to see on. The next event will be FD Atlanta, which is happening in a couple weeks or so.